music is not life. Life is music. I mean, what you live in your life, you are going to put it in the music. This is why I was calling my new album Tale of the Reconstruction, because it took me years to have a reconstruction in my life, and I'm stronger.
Hi, and welcome to ForBassPlayersOnly.com. I'm John Leapman, founder and first baseman. If you've ever wanted to learn bass, but you think, oh, you're too old or your body won't cooperate or something like that, you should know that right now there are thousands of people inside the For Bass Players Only community, most of them pretty well over 50, and they are learning bass, having the time of their life playing music that they love. You should come join them and experience that incredible transformation for yourself because, as I always say, you're never too old to groove. So let's play bass. My guest this week is an old friend from France, Yves Carbonne. He is a French electric bassist, contrabassist, and sub-bass guitarist, most known for his pioneering work with 8, 10, and 12-string fretless basses, as well as his original use of the 2-string bass. Let's all see how many people we can upset in this interview. As a composer and arranger, his primary focus is on wide-ranging musical composition and instrumental research. Among the many notable guests Yves has featured on his albums are Michael Manring and Marcus Miller on his first 2 solo albums. I've got interviews with both of those guys here, too. You should check those out.
Oh, great.
Yves' latest album is called Tales of the Reconstruction, and it was released in November of 2023, and it's considered to be his most mature work yet, whereas bass is offered in all of its forms. He has taught at the PESMD Bordeaux. It's actually Bordeaux Nouvelle Aquitaine. I didn't have to say that, but I just wanted to show off my from 2018 to 2021, and he currently produces online bass content on all the social media platforms. This is his second time on For Bass Players Only. Welcome, Yves. It's so great to see you.
It's great to see you too, John. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, it's my pleasure. Actually, the first interview was a text interview that it was published way back in 2011. And I just used to email questions and people would email their answers back to me. And we talked about extended range basses, sub bass, bass design, some of the things that I mentioned. And I wanted to ask you why you are so interested in the extended range, but having listened to your music, that would be kind of insulting to you, I think, because if you listen to the music, you can hear why you do it. But what attracted you to, beyond 4 strings? When somebody handed me a 24-string bass one time at a NAMM show, and I didn't even know what to do with it. I said, first thing I said is, okay, is there an EADG in there somewhere? Let's start there. So how did you get interested in expanding the range of the bass to the degree that you have?
What I can say first is that I am a traditional bass player. I'm a Fender guy, For example, I still play 1964 left-handed Fender jazz bass, which is something very rare. And it's a friend of mine in Australia who is letting me playing it nicely. So thank him for that. And I'm not very young. I'm 57 now. And at a point of my career, I was thinking to develop my own sound and to look for new directions, because a lot of bass players are doing basically the same things. It's not a critic, but I understand that because we have to work with bass, so we develop a sound that is going to work for everybody, and of course there is a style also. But I was thinking, well, it's a young instrument, so I was seeing guys trying things with 7-string bass, even more. And at a point, I was asking myself, what can I do? So I was interested in the octave below the standard range because I think you can hear it. It's possible if you listen to my recording on normal speakers. I play low G, 1 octave below low G on a 4-string bass, low F sharp, low F, low E, and even low N. Everything is there. So I was really interested in that. And also with the fretless instrument, I like the idea to extend the register because when you go very high, you start to have sounds uh, like sitar, Indian instruments. So I was thinking like a composer, and I wanted to have that for my music because I had the musical ideas first. Instruments are tools. So I was thinking about what I could add to my music. And then I was working with luthiers to develop some instrument to play my music. When you mention basses with a lot of strings, well, it was like at NAMM at the beginning of the 2000s and 2010, a lot of guys wanted to go in the direction because it was cool, it was a kind of fashion. But unfortunately, they did not have the music before the instrument. So you get a bass like that. Eventually, you have cool pictures for Facebook. You know what I mean? But are you going to play it? I mean, it's not because you own an instrument that you really play it.
Yeah.
So I'm doing the hard job, I can say, with those instruments. Today, I'm working like minimum 5 hours a day, the technique on all my instruments. Maybe I'm working more than ever because I'm very in shape. I'm working out every day since 10 years now. So I have the body to do that because 10 years ago, when I was back from the US, I had a problem with my back, and little things like that. Anyway, it's not very important to talk about that. I just wanted to say that I have created the conditions in my life to be able to play those instruments. And basically, playing a fretless is not easy. But when you play a fretless with 10 string, it's really, really difficult to play into another. This is why people don't do it. I was asking myself why I am the only one. It's not that I am proud of myself because of that, but this is a conclusion. People don't do it because it's difficult. And I don't like easy things. I take things with a lot of works. And what can I say? The instrument is the vehicle and the music is the destination, right?
I like that. I like it's when you were talking, you said that you think of the music before the instrument. So you are a bass player, but before that, you're a musician, and bass just happens to be the vehicle, as you put it, that you use to play your instrument. It's not like, how many 16th notes can I play, and that kind of thing. It's
Yeah,
all about the
basically, I'm still a bass player doing regular gigs, for living. So it's like having two careers. I'm a bass player. You call me for playing bass, so I'm taking the jazz bass or whatever, 4 strings. I can take the 2 strings if you want. But when I'm doing my music, I'm doing my stuff, and it's different. It's artistic stuff, right?
You said you're still a traditional bass player. I'm thinking that I don't know that that's really what you're known for. Maybe in where you live, and people will call you for regular gigs, but I think most people think of you in the other area, the other realm with the artistry and the multi-string basses. But I do have to ask you something. You said you like hard things. You've done everything about as hard as it can be with fretless and with the crazy number I don't mean crazy in a negative way. I mean, a big number of strings. Um, you play it left-handed. I'm almost afraid to ask you this. Do you restring your basses like a lefty, or do you play a righty bass upside down like Jimmy
No,
has?
it's I play real lefty basses.
Okay, because
I have
otherwise,
the low E up and the high
okay.
G down.
I know when I first started interview, I've interviewed Jimmy Haslip, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, and my jaw just dropped because he plays a righty bass upside down,
I know.
and he slaps and pops it. I don't know how he does it, but that's crazy. I want to talk a little bit more about. I mentioned 2011 was a long time ago. You
Yes.
mentioned some of the things that you're doing in the regular gigs and the composing and the artistry. Uh, 2011 was a long time ago. Can you share a few highlights of some of the things that you've done since our last interview that you think our audience would be interested in?
Well, I went to the US because of my personal life, getting married with a woman, but it did not work at the end. She's a great luthier and she's making beautiful acoustic basses. So it's a good memory. But when I was back in France, because I had a green card living in the US, I went back in France with nothing, and it has been long to restart everything. But well, I have done two new albums. I know it's not a lot, but well, and gigs, and I'm doing a lot of things, lessons also at the school you mentioned it, but also video lessons. Some guys call me, from other country because they are interested in my fretless playing and stuff like that. And I think that music is not life. Life is music. I mean, what you live in your life, you are going to put it in the music. This is why I was calling my new album Tale of the Reconstruction, because it took me years to have a reconstruction in my life. And I'm stronger, because what I have learned is that you become stronger. What what doesn't kill me make me stronger. So you become stronger when you struggle, and I like that because I understand the process perfectly now.
Your albums, you have a knack for finding a really nice balance between a, a bass record and actual music that's got vocals and there's stories, there are actual songs with really great bass playing. So how would you describe the music of the new album, Tales of the Reconstruction, as particularly as it compares to your previous releases?
If you look at the title of each song, the title of each song, there is a progression in the album, and there are different phases in my life. It's really related to what I was living and what I'm living now. This is why there is a strong meaning, because if you play just stuff, oh, look, I have a 12-string bass and I'm going to show off and play this and that, and it's not me. I have to use things for a purpose. So what I have done during COVID is recording a lot of little videos, which were improvisation. And for building the songs of the two last albums, I was going back to those little improvisation, and I was looking at what I could use to make songs. So everything is coming from improvisations.
Okay, got it, got it. What about some of your gear? You mentioned what'd you say, a 64p bass? Oh wow, but that
No,
is
jazz bass, jazz
what?
bass. It's
Oh, yeah,
1964
jazz
jazz
bass.
bass.
Okay, well that's good too. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm sure people, that's probably the most traditional bass that you have. Can you just give us a few highlights? I'm sure that people would want to know a little bit about some of the instruments you're playing, the luthiers, the manufacturers, the number of strings. uh, and which ones you tend to gravitate toward most often. Can you give us just an overview of a few of your most notable instruments?
So if we start with the minimum of amount of strings, it's a two strings. Two strings. So why two strings? Because in 2015, John Letts was looking at my videos with the 12 strings, and I was getting a lot of good feedback, but also some people were telling me, well, it's not a bass and blah, blah, blah. And I was starting to think, first as a joke, how many strings do I really need for playing bass in a regular band? You know, bass lines. And I was arriving to the conclusion that with two strings, you can probably play 95% of all the bass lines you will have to play as a bass player. And I was joking with that. And John Letts was sending me a private message on Facebook and telling me, if you want, I'm going to build one for you and send it to you. So we were designing this instrument together. And I started to play and enjoying it. And I was discovering something very important to me, two things actually. The first one is that when you have only two strings, you have to develop horizontal playing. And most bass players never do that. So it was great, really great for my progression to be forced. In a way, you are forced because you don't have other options. You see what I was saying before, that you progress when you struggle.
Yeah.
So you have two strings. I was recording Tin Town on two strings. It's still on YouTube. And Donnelly on two strings.
What are those two strings? How are they tuned?
First, I was tuning them low E and A. And now it's one step lower, low D, below low E, and G. And recently I was recording, it's on Instagram and everywhere, groove with that, only groove. And the second important things, because I have been working for many, many years with Lucia, my personal conclusion is that when you have less strings, you have a bigger sound. So I don't want to offend any four-string bass player. I'm still a four-string bass player, okay? Don't forget that. But with two string, you are going to get a bigger sound because you have less pressure on the instrument and the strings are doing like boom, You have big sound with two strings. So I love this bass for playing groove, really. I really love it. And of course, it's going to upset people because they think, this is a guy with 2,000 strings, or I don't know what they say. But
Excuse me,
I'm
just
doing that for me, for my progression.
just to clarify, when you say low E, you mean the same low E that all the rest of us have. That pitch, it's not lower than that. It's just the regular
Yeah, the
E.
low E on a regular four-string bass.
Okay, you never know with you.
But I have also the low E one octave lower. And on the 12 string, I have the low B one octave lower.
So, who are some of the bass manufacturers whose instruments you play?
I have been working a lot with Christian Noguera in France,
Mhm.
but right now he's not going any more basses from what I know. Maybe we do more later, I don't know. Jersey Droys in Spain.
Yeah.
And recently I had the pleasure to get a beautiful acoustic bass from Nicolas Daillet, a French luthier in the south of France. It's a real acoustic bass that can sound very close to a good upright bass. And I know good upright bass because I was living with a luthier who was making upright basses.
Right.
So it's really a great acoustic instrument. And because I wanted it with six string, I can also do stuff I'm doing on my electric instrument, like chords and melody in the high register. Generally, acoustic basses are not so great, It's like if you have a good preamp, you are going to get probably got a good sound. But if you speak really about acoustic sound, it's so generally.
You're talking about an acoustic bass guitar, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
acoustic bass guitars. But this one is a real acoustic bass.
And what kind of strings do you play?
I use mostly Callium strings.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned them. You mentioned Labella, the other interview
Yeah,
also.
Lavella, I started with them, and they have been very helpful in the beginning. But at a point, Skip Fantry from Callium Strings
Yeah.
were going more in the direction I was looking for because he's also a luthier making basses
Uh,
tuned very low. You know, there is there is not a lot of people in this world who are going in this direction. So Callium Strings on the acoustic bass, it's flat wound strings. It's Dadario chromes. And that's it.
what about
On the jazz bass, it's the traditional roto sound, the same set as Jaco with
yeah,
something close, because it's working well, that's all.
yeah,
But you know what? I think that whatever stuff you are going to use, you will always sound the same.
that's true. Well, yeah, I agree with, to most of the way, I agree with that. But yeah, you're gonna sound everybody's gonna sound like themselves, the strings and the
But
bass.
it's about being able also to adjust the instrument for yourself.
Yeah.
And you are the only one who can do that. Some people are telling me, "Oh, are you getting this sound with the fretless?" Because I know to adjust it perfectly.
And it's in the hands.
And it's in the hands, but I always have my key not too far because if the moisture is changing,
Yeah.
it's the curve of the fingerboard is changing and the sound is not the same. I can adjust that every day to get my sound.
What kind of effects do you use?
Mostly reverb, but I have been using recently a lot of synthesizer sounds, from Eventide.
Yeah.
And I have also jam pedals from many years now, maybe 10 years. They are the best analog pedals for me. So
What kind? What did you say?
analog pedals,
Yeah, but what company did you mention?
jam pedals,
Okay.
jam, jam
Jen.
pedals. You know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah,
I'm not used to talk in English every day for 10 years, so sorry if,
that's
can you
okay.
understand me? Yes.
That's okay. What about amps?
For the last 2 years, I have something incredible that I was looking for many years. I have a amp with only one button, only one. This is a wonderful Van der Klee amplification Spartan 2.
That's about
Inside there is two 800 watts power amps,
wow.
a preamp which is set flat,
Yeah.
and there is only one button, and you can adjust the level at the entry, 0 dB, or I think you can remove 10 dBs or something like that.
And you
And I use no EQ. I have removed all the batteries from almost all my basses. I just have the batteries inside the Jersey droids because I have piezo.
yeah.
So for getting something close to acoustic sound, I use the piezo. I need the battery. But today, all my basses, it's passive, no EQ, no compression, nothing. I just go inside my amp, and the XLR output is going to my sound card or whatever in the studio, and that's all. I don't use any more microphone in front of an amp or anything like that because everything is good. But again, I think that if you have the right setup, if you really know to adjust your bass, if it sounds good, that's okay. If it doesn't sound good, maybe it's you. It's not it's not the bass or anything else. And a lot of time when it doesn't sound good, it's me because sometimes you are not in a good mood or and you are tense, and when you are tense you don't play the same. I am recording myself every day, and I have done many tries doing the same thing and just breathing, just relaxing. The sound changed completely.
Yeah. And we have different times of the day when we're most productive and most creative and or most on. But it's interesting to say, with all the things that you do and how complicated they are, this is one thing you do that's simple with your amp with the one button. That's I love that. Hey, you are an educator. You've done a lot of teaching. I want to ask you, for bassplayers.only.com is really a bass instruction site. And as I mentioned before, we have people from all over the world coming every day to ForBassPlayersOnly.com to learn how to play bass. Most of them are over 50. I have students in their 50s, 60s, 70s. I have students in their 80s, both men and women. And they're not trying to be rock stars. They're not trying to, they're not looking to tour the world playing sold out arenas to their adoring fans. They want to get together with their friends and play some classic rock riffs or some blues shuffles or maybe a little funk or some walking bass or something. And there's some of them a little country. And you mentioned something else about your back or an issue that you had. A lot of times when those students get into that age group, the silver vintaged age range, things like arthritis and tendonitis, or maybe they're recovering from surgery and things like that. And I'm telling you all this just to give you a context because I want to ask you, Yves, what kind of advice can you impart to somebody like that, somebody with those kinds of qualities and history and situations who want to play bass? What should they be thinking about? What kind of goals should they be setting? What kind of questions should they be asking? Anything like that. What do you have to say to those folks?
I am vintage myself, so I think I can give the good answer to you. Um, what I would say is that the most important thing you own is your body. So you have to take care of your body in a sense of be in shape. If you are not in shape, you are not going to be able to play bass for many years because you are going to suffer from your back and stuff like that. So you have to take care of your body to have a good living Asiana. To personally, I'm working out and I'm calculating everything I'm eating, because I am into fitness and stuff like that. And it has been a lot of work, but I am glad I did that because today my body is a result of what I want. Of course, I can get sick. Of course, I can have an accident. A lot of things can happen, but I am in a great shape, more in shape than 30 years ago. I wake up frequently at 5 to work out before my breakfast, and some days, oh, I don't want to do that, but I'm doing it. It's like playing bass. I have been putting on Instagram probably 5 reels a week for the last 6 months. It's a lot of work, I can tell you. Even if it's only 1 minute, because if you try to have a good sound and stuff like that, it's work. But it's my pleasure to do that and to offer that to the public. And I can do that because I'm in a good shape and because I can practice my basses every day. If I was not in a good shape, I could not do that. I would have to do that maybe one time a week or 2 weeks, So when I was back from the US, I was really digging very deeply about what I was going to do after. And you are mentioning my album Tales of the Risk Constriction. I have built someone strong today, and I'm proud to say that I'm not wanking or saying that, to try to impress anyone. This is who I am, but this is a result of a lot of hard work. I'm working hard every day, every day. I'm working hard until the point I'm exhausted, and the only thing I can do is to go to sleep. And generally, I sleep 6 hours. That's all. And if you sleep 6 hours, you have many hours in a day to do things.
Can you be a little more specific with for some of the other folks, some of the people that we're talking about here, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s? Is there something specific that maybe they're not in great shape and they just want to play the bass? So what kinds of things can they do along the lines of exercise or working out if they're not really in good shape? They want to play the bass, and this is something that they can do to help them learn to play bass and to be more comfortable and to be better bass players. Are there some simple things that somebody can do who may be just starting out?
Absolutely, you have to go to an endocrinologist, I don't know, you'd say that.
Endocrinologist?
Yes, you have to check your testosterone level to see where you are. And if your testosterone is crashing like everyone, probably after 30 years old today because of pollution, because of stress, because of everything which is happening in the world, even young men have very low testosterone levels. So this is the key. I will not say more about that, but this is the key. If you have low testosterone, you have a low level of life. This is my advice.
Nobody's ever said that
And I'm
before.
and I'm precise that I'm not a doctor.
Right.
I'm not doing people have to do this or that. I am doing only legal things. That's very important what I'm saying. I'm not a bodybuilder. 4 years ago, I was thinking maybe to go in bodybuilding, but this is just silly when you think about that because I don't want to be just in some kind of flashy underwear in front of all men who are going to judge my physique. For what? To have a cup I will put somewhere? No, I prefer to practice. So that is okay. I don't think about that anymore. I do what I need to do to be in the best shape of my life, and I am in the best shape of my life to be able to work efficiently, to practice, to compose, to do my gigs, to give my lessons, to do this, to do that, and to be happy because I'm a positive person and I enjoy life. The question people have to ask themselves when they are getting old, how do you want to live the rest of your life? Do you want to live the rest of your life with a lot of pain, with taking a lot of medical prescriptions? I'm taking no medical prescriptions, but I'm taking vitamin D, zinc, a lot of stuff like that, because I have studied those things since the 90s. So it's another passion, nutrition and stuff like that. And when I'm saying that, I'm not judging anyone. I understand people, they have their lives, their problems, but the solution is inside of you. If you want to change your life, you do it. That's all. It's like if you want to stop smoking, well, the best way to stop smoking is to stop smoking. If you say, I want to stop smoking, but you don't stop smoking. So 10 years ago, when I was back in France, I went back to the gym because I was doing that in the 90s, and I did my best to be in shape. I think as long as we are alive, everything is possible.
Very inspiring.
You can change everything as long as you are alive. I know it's sounding like, well, he's saying blah, blah, blah. Well, I did it.
Good for you. Great message. Very inspiring. And I hope you're all paying attention. What about the
Thank you.
future, Eve? You mentioned some things that you have going on, but is there anything else that either you've always wanted to do but you haven't gotten around to yet, or something else that's in the works that you're planning for the future that you may not have mentioned?
What I want to do mainly is to record music because I believe that when I will not be in this world anymore, the only thing that will last is my music. It's not the number of gigs, even if it's important to play gigs. Today and yesterday, I was recording for my great friend Randy Berson, the US guitarist.
From Florida.
Yes, and we are very good friends, and I'm going to be in his new album with Jimmy Haslip.
I thought, yeah, Jimmy's probably producing it, right?
I don't know if Jimmy is producing it. Randy did not tell me about that, but we were talking today. I was recording my part yesterday and sending it this morning to Randy, and he loves it. And so that's exciting for me because today we can do studio stuff at home.
Yep. I know
So,
Jimmy has been working with him for a while, and Randy Bernson. God, I lived in Florida for 6 years, so he was
oh, that's great.
very prominent. He had an album called "Music for People, Planets, and Washing Machines."
Yes. With everybody from Jaco Pastorius to Herbie Hancock, and it's wow.
Oh, that's great. When is that album coming out? Do you know? The
I
one you're
think for
working on.
Christmas because it's a Christmas album.
So I could
S-
probably guess when it's around when it's going to be released. That's
Yeah,
great. What else are you? Anything else?
I'm starting to work on my new album. I want to give master classes. I have one in Paris in November. I want also to have more gigs. Right now, I don't have a lot, but I have someone who is looking for that. And well, basically for all the festivals, it's a long time before you have the gigs. So we are doing the job like it needs to be done now. So I think there will be things. After that, I have a very simple life. I just enjoy to go to the ocean. I'm not very far, like half an hour driving from Bordeaux to the ocean. Um,
How far are you
walking,
from?
walking a lot.
How far are you from Paris?
It's 500 kilometers, a little
Oh,
bit more.
okay, because I think
Two or 3 hours of train, and that's all.
okay. When I think of France and Paris, Bunny Brunel, Josquin Desprez, and Kyle Eastwood spends a lot of time in Paris. And a friend of mine, Rick Margitza from Detroit, saxophone player,
Yeah,
and Antonella Mazza, who's actually Italian, but she's been in Paris for a long time. I've interviewed her a couple times
yeah, yeah.
this year. So yeah, a lot going on in France. My wife and I will have to get back over there.
Good.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I do have one more question for you, Eve. What would you be if you weren't a bass player? If it was something outside of music. Can you imagine that?
Maybe a bodybuilder, but I would be really big. I would be. No, I'm standard with my weight, nothing huge. Maybe a nutritionist. Maybe I don't know, things around health and nutrition, and I love that.
Yeah, you're a good person to hang around. I should just spend more time with you and people who are
If I
healthy.
can help, I am here for you.
All right, great. Well, when I come to France or when you come to the US, let's get together.
Where are you living now?
I'm in Michigan.
Michigan. Okay.
Yes. I was born in Cleveland. I grew up outside Detroit and spent 6 years in Miami, as I mentioned. And I was out in LA for a while too, doing quite a bit of
When I
stuff.
was meeting you at NAM, you were living in LA or you were in Michigan?
Probably Michigan.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you come in France, just let me know, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on our list. We've got a lot of places that we'd like to get to, and some places we've been to we'd like to get back to. So thank you very much, Yves. This is great. This is, like I said, very inspiring, a lot of great information. And let's not wait another, what did I say, 2011? Let's not wait another 13 years before we do it.
Well, we will be old maybe this time next time. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you were contacting me for this interview. I enjoy it, and I hope everybody understands what I say with my strong French accent. But I'm not living in the US for maybe 10 years. I'm writing in English almost every day, but I'm not talking a lot in English. So
Okay. Well, I'm glad to give you a little practice. Maybe I
thank
could
you.
practice my French. I took 4 years of French in high school. Then I moved to Miami, where it did not do me a whole lot of good. But
Good. Yes, if you want,
lundi
when you want.
matin, you know that lundi matin. Anyway, if we haven't lost all of our audience by now, I think we're about to. So I think we'll end it here. Thank you, Yves. I'm John Liebman.
Thank you, John.
You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. If you've ever wanted to learn bass, but you think you're too old or your body just won't cooperate, you should know that right now there are thousands of people inside the For Bass Players Only community, most of them of the silver aged vintage, and they are learning bass and they're having the time of their life playing music that they love. You should come join them and experience that incredible transformation for yourself, because you're never too old to groove. I will see you right back here next week, same time, same place. Thanks again to my special guest, Yves Carbonne. I will see you next week. Let's play bass.